where nuclear war has begun. Vampires fought back in super real 3D.
We offer a lifetime residential warranty on our coatings. This protects against chipping, peeling, delamination, even yellowing and fading. So if anything ever happens to your project within the lifetime of it, just call us back and we'll come out and fix it for free.
Part of my garage slab extends outside the garage. It has been exposed to the elements for 2.5 years, including sun, and I get a lot of afternoon sun. And when that door is up, that would be a line of demarcation that you would be able to see if there was any effects from the UV, and there's none. Literally, it looks the same. Door up, door down.
And you can see I'm inside of Premiere here. I have a few things going on. Right here, this is this is all untouched, right? I boosted the audio. Actually, this was down to here. Okay, so this was the lav mic, the Zoom F2, and that's an audio recorder for a lav. That's standalone. It's not a wireless unit. I personally stopped using wireless units because as a single person, I can't monitor my lav mics. I just have to put them on and hope that they're doing their thing. And the main issue that I was running into is sometimes there'd be signal interference with wireless units. So these non-wireless units are not only avoid that, but they're also cheaper, which is great. Now what I have put on here is the Zoom F2 is very cool, by the way, also because it has 32-bit float. So it's basically like raw audio. Okay, it is. You can manipulate it as if it was recorded at a higher decibel, and that way it allows you a lot of flexibility in post. Again, if you can't monitor your audio, it's so helpful to be able to have this. I made a video about 32-bit float. You can check that out. I'll put that up. But the Zoom F2 offers this, and you can hear how low the recording is. Here's what it sounds like completely untouched at the decibel level it was recorded at.
One of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area.
Okay, so that's where it's at now, but with this, I can just go ahead and boost this up. Let's say 10, we'll start, I see that. Let's go ahead and boost it up another 5. Let's go to 15.
When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there, or...
So there's a lot of plosives happening in there. The software does offer fixes for plosives, which is great. It'll do it pretty quickly. Now that's just the lav mic audio. Let me check out the boom mic audio, and I'm going to determine from there which one I want to work off of. I don't need to sit here and take the time to fix both if I like one better out of the gate. So that's what the untouched Zoom F2 audio sounds like with a COS 11 microphone. It's actually a good microphone. It's really improved my lav mics a lot. I've been using the lav mics way more. I do love it. But in general, still, a boom mic kind of has this natural tonal quality to it that sounds a little bit more like you would perceive, because the mic itself, even while you're trying to place it as close to the subject as you can get because it has to stay out of frame, it's still more similar to the actual distance that you would hear it if you were talking to somebody, just like I'm talking to the camera now. So hopefully this mic's picking up my audio well enough. I'm counting on it too. I'm not used to having it this far out. I could put it a little bit closer. We're going to stick with the consistent audio source here. I hope you can hear me well enough. All right. If I need to, I'll cut to the camera audio. Again, this is just a video while I'm trying to work, and I have so many edits due this week. It's insane. This is one of 4 clients that I'm working on simultaneously for annual production packages. If you want to know about how to build out kits for that, or like what the reason I'd start charging that way, I have a video about that as well. You can check that out. So let's go ahead and check out the Zoom F6. This is boom mic overhead with a Rode NTG4 microphone, and it's running into a Zoom F6, which also offers 32-bit float. And I think if I'm looking at the sound wave, I might have already, when I dropped it in, yeah, by default I already bumped it up 13 dB. Let me just minus that for a second just so you can see where the original audio was untouched.
Do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and increase that volume. Had it at 13. Let's see where that's at. You can see these peak waves have gone up tremendously.
To kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there, or if they need to schedule a more strenuous repair.
I think I'm going to go with working on this boom mic first. If I don't like how it comes out, then I'll default to the lav mic. The reason I'm favoring this one at the moment is because I like the natural sound of it a bit more. The only thing I have to battle is a little bit of reverb, which is pretty consistent. The plosives that are happening in the lav mic because of how it had to be positioned on her shirt, I might have to go in one by one and kind of deal with those a little bit more. So I think I could do a general wide sweep across this with some deverb, which is one of the tools that are offered inside the RX suite that Izotope makes for sound audio cleanup. And I'm going to do a few things here. So the first thing, I always go a little bit in different orders. It depends on what's going on. Today, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to do Neutron. Neutron is another software plugin. So I'm talking about all this RX stuff. That's one of the things, but Izotope also makes something called Neutron. So I'm a big fan of all these Izotope products. Neutron and RX are the main ones I use. Ozone is a very interesting mastering. I have it. I use it more for music stuff than I do in the video editing stuff. But let's go with Neutron. Let's go ahead and throw this on here. Whoops. Throw it onto the actual clip. It goes up here. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to give an EQ pass. I'm going to first, well, here's something I do. I set it up on a loop. I find a meaty section that she's talking pretty long, or whoever the interviewee is talking for a while on. I'm going to create an in and an out point where it looks like they're just talking steady. And that way I don't have to think about it much. I'm going to turn on my loop. If you don't have this added to your button set, I highly recommend just having it right there, or create a shortcut command so you just do it regularly. And if I hit play, it's going to keep looping it.
If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures.
So the first thing I'm going to do, I don't want to talk while I'm doing it so you can hear more clearly, but I'm going to go ahead and cut off frequencies that are basically below 100 and above roughly 10,000, because those aren't really frequencies that I need, and I'm going to have background music, and I want the background music to kind of fill those out. This will allow for the overall collective mix to not be as muddy and sit better together. Then I'll tell you what the next step is that I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off frequencies on the low end, high end.
Just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be different.
All right, so basically I take it dramatically over in one direction and then kind of come back off of it until I hear ultimately what I'm looking for, and that is more clear, but not much of a difference. Basically, I'm taking away frequencies that are being used, but they're not really adding anything to the voice. So there's barely any difference perceivably by the ear what that just did, but I promise you, you can see physically those frequencies were being occupied. So when the music's there, it starts to mud together. It's going to be slightly harder to hear people cut through. So that's going to help the mix. Now I'm going to look for frequencies that suck. And the way that you do that is you want to use like a very thin, narrow band. You're going to raise up. I personally start on the low and work my way over to the high. And I'm basically going to raise up, and I'm going to find where these weird oddity, like anomaly type sounds happen. And from there, I'm going to put cuts in them, and you'll see how I gently do that. So I'm going to hit play and not talk over it so you can hear what's happening here.
Difficult, hence the warranty. Just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how.
So I've cut out frequencies that I don't like. I'm not going to mess with stuff over here because this is really where the vocal sits. Like even if you're doing music and you're doing a vocal, like this is where the voice is really sitting the most, that you'd want that to cut through. So if anything, what I'm actually usually do is add a little bit of boost that's going to make it sound a little bit closer, a little brighter, and again, cut through the mix a little bit. But it doesn't take much, and you don't want to do it as a narrow band. You kind of want to stretch it out just a little bit.
How to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that. So that's my mix. If I play it and turn it off and on, this is what it sounds like.
Before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area, when they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos.
Okay, so it's just clear, cuts right through. That's nice. Okay, if I wasn't having to talk while I did that, I could do that, you know, in roughly less than a minute. But I'm trying to explain what it is. So what my only point with that isn't to toot my own horn. I'm just trying to let you know that you can do this really fast. This isn't as time consuming as it seems for an instructional video. So that's the first thing I went ahead and did. So what I've done is removed frequencies that I know that I don't even need to mess with. Now what I'm going to do is let me attack this reverb just a little bit, because that is going to be an issue. I want to see how well I can do it. So I'm going to just grab the deverb. I'm going to type in RX in my effects that I have loaded in here. You can see I still have RX7 listed here, but 9 is what I'm on. I just haven't taken the time to remove it from my stuff. I'm going to go ahead and find deverb. There it is. I'm going to just drop it on. We'll see what it does by default. Sometimes it's nice. Usually it's a little too thick, but let's see what we got.
To kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there.
So you can see each time those little orange markers are happening on the low, low, mid, high, and this line above that's drawn out in orange. I may have just called it yellow, orange, yellow, whatever it is. That's every time it's doing something. That's every time it's working its magic to take out the frequencies that are causing that. And I think it's quite nice. So I'm going to play it. You can watch that behave, and then I'm going to turn it off and on.
If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis. But let us send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to...
Sounds great. Now, another thing I might mess with is there's a little bit of background noise in there. It's not bad at all. I don't even necessarily need to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. While I'm using the RX suite inside of Premiere right now, it's also a standalone application. It has more tools in the standalone application than it does directly as being used as a plugin inside of Premiere or whatever your editor is. But ultimately, I can usually get away with just using this voice denoiser, and that works pretty good. However, in my opinion, the best one that I use the most frequently when I really need it is the dialogue isolate, and that's available in the standalone. In this case, I'm going to try to keep it all inside of Premiere for us, and let's just see what it does when I drop that on. By default, we'll play with it a little bit.
Do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of...
So by default, it's too dead for me. So I'm going to go ahead and back it off a little bit. I'm also going to find where my threshold really needs to be. So this is what I personally do. I'm going to raise the reduction all the way up so it's just over the top, and then I'm going to gradually bring up my threshold until I feel it affects what I need it to affect. Then I'm going to back off the reduction until it feels like just this light, gentle touch that's not as noticeable.
Kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there.
Now, we're almost there as far as tonal quality. What I will say is that it's a little, there's some peaks here that are a bit strong. We're going to put on a compressor and a hard limiter and render it out. So that's going to resolve some of these peaks. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the compressor on. I'm going to go ahead and use Neutron as my compressor. Neutron has the compressor built into it. The order of doing these things does affect things. If you have an issue with something that's not quite working the way that you want, you can try rearranging the order of these instances, make fine-tune adjustments based on the order that you're now hearing, and sometimes that can achieve the result that you want. So far, this order is working for this. I'm happy with where this is heading. I feel pretty solid that this is going to come out great. Now we just want to even out the volume more because you can see how up and down it is. Now there's going to be some dynamic range like that I want to keep so it breathes a little bit more. There's going to be some that's just there that maybe I'll manually dial out when I've actually got my edit. What I'm doing is doing a whole pass of this to the entire audio. So that way I don't have to do this manually for each individual clip or just whatever videos, because I'm going to make multiple videos for this company across the course of time that's going to be using parts of this interview. By just going ahead and doing a whole sweep across the audio, you got clean, great audio that I'm going to link up with my video. And then anytime I grab something, it's already done for me. I don't have to think about audio. I just even it out with the other audio from other interviews, volume-wise, and that's it. That's the way to do it. So let's go ahead and throw Neutron back on there. I got to get rid of RX there. I'm going to get one more instance of Neutron so we can get our compressor out. And you can choose to put just literally the compressor on by Neutron. That's fine. It breaks it up into equalizer, compressor, etc. But a sculptor, all kinds of things. But I'm just going to go ahead and do the full thing in case I want to do something else to it. I'm going to skip the EQ because we've already got it where I like it.
There, if you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty, just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis.
Everywhere you see this orange happening along the line here or in this little bar here, you'll see that's how many decibels it is basically bringing it back down. So you can see how much it's working. You don't want it to work too strong. However, depending, sometimes I go a little bit hotter on it than... It depends on how much you're getting paid, okay? Because the more you have to manually change, the longer that audio can be very time consuming. So you can cheat a bit more with the lower, if the budget's not there, you're making a bunch of videos for a certain price. If you have to get stuff done faster, you can throw it on a little thicker. I like my release to be pretty quick. I like my attack to be pretty quick. This is, to taste. But this is generally where I end up having it. I have my ratio usually somewhere between 4 and 5, and my attack somewhere around 10, my release somewhere around 20. I like to have my knee somewhere between 15 to 25. And then my threshold, I'm just going to bring it based on where I see the audio. I'm going to see this, hear it, feel it out.
Before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area, when they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation.
That's pretty good. I think I can roll with that. And keep in mind, once I render all this out, if I, during the edit, start to realize that I want more adjustments, I can just do another pass of things to kind of even things out more. I could throw a compressor on again lightly and then just even it out a bit more. And the last thing I want to put on is a limiter. Now, I'm torn. I don't know why. The limiter inside of Neutron, it probably is fine, but for some reason I have a harder time taming it. I'm just used to using this one that's in Adobe by default, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it for a quick result that, if I have an issue, maybe I'd go back to Neutron. I know it seems a little like, why am I stacking so many effects? I'm just doing what I just seem to be able to dial this in quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the hard limiter, and you'll see where I set it. In general, for these, I'm going to put it probably around -5, and then I'm going to boost the input enough that I want to just kind of hear how it's working. So let's see what we got.
Damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty. Just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of...
What I'm doing right now with the input boost is I'm basically, the max amplitude is setting where it's going, like the maximum amount that it's going to be allowed to have. Okay, so it's going to cap it off there. It's not going to let it go past that point. But because of these quieter parts, you want to bring your input boost up. So that way it's going to bring the volume levels up so they're touching that floor more often. And the closer you can get it, the more even the sound's going to be. But if you push it all the way up, it's going to sound super squashed. That's where you get that term squashed. And we don't want that. We don't want it to be obviously squashed. So I'm being delicate here and trying to hear where it sounds too squashed. Let me give an extreme example of what squashed would sound like so you know for sure.
Kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there. If you manage to damage our coatings, which would be difficult, hence the warranty.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. And the example here is that it's not letting it go past the -5 dB, but it's pushing everything up all the way to the floor. So there's probably like no dynamic range happening between the quiet parts and the loud parts, and it sounds fake. It sounds like you're just riding it too hard. The noise floor is being pushed up. So you don't want that. I'm probably going to go somewhere around 2. So let me bring back to 0. We can hear that, and then I'll go to 2, and we'll see what that's like.
Just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the...
I think 1.5 sounds good. I'm gonna roll with that. So here's what I'm gonna do. I've got it all dialed in. Rather than like exporting this fully and all that jazz, and this is dead space, by the way. I just accidentally forgot to turn off the recorder. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that. I'm going to render this inside of Premiere with Render Replace. I made a whole video on Render Replace if you want to check that out, which I highly recommend understanding better what the awesome aspects are of Render Replace, especially for once you get into the video portion. Render Replace, when you're using it for video, it's going to render all the effects, all the color grades and stuff that you've done to a clip. So that way it's flattened out and it's a new video clip, okay? And it's right there in your timeline. You don't have to rearrange stuff. You don't have to exit. It's just all right there. It's great. You can do it right in place. And the beautiful thing about that is that you can then right click on that video clip and restore it back to what it was. So you can have access to all the effects again if you need to make adjustments again. That's what's so cool. One of the amazing things about it. With audio, unfortunately, it does not do that. It does not bring back the settings that you had. So when you restore the render, yes, you can get back to the original right then and there, but you don't have all the effects that you did to it. So what I do is I'm just gonna go ahead and alt-click, drag over, and now I've got a copy of it, and that one I'm not gonna render, and it's got all the effects that I did to it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and render this one. So once we render it, we're gonna see what happens to these sound waves. Let's try it out. I'm gonna right-click, I'm gonna hit Render Replace, and oh, yeah, got confused because I had my mark in and out points. And this doesn't take too long. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on the power of your machine. In general, the audio, it kind of plows through. Render Replace on your video clips you can do as you go, and that way you can see your video playback in real time. This is more something you would do as you get into the color grading or effects adding, or if you're adding animated text and things like that. So we're almost there. And then hopefully this just sounds pretty good, and you'll have the idea of how I do my audio, and we'll end this video. I sure do hope this audio, I normally talk with this like right here. I know that sounds better, but sorry guys, it's what it is. And there, now look at that. It's like a totally different looking. It looks like it's square and cut off, but if you zoom in on it, look, it's actually not clipping anywhere. From a distance, it looks like it all clipped off at a certain point because of that limiter, but it didn't. And these quiet parts in between here is where I'm asking her a question, so I don't want that anyway. And I'm going to line this up with my video in a moment, but let's hear what the final result is.
Just give us a call and let us know. We'll probably ask you for some pictures just so we can do a brief analysis before we send out one of our production managers or field super.
Cool, and it's done to the whole clip. So I mean, anywhere that I go, oops, if I turn off my loop, anywhere that I go, here, up over here.
Yellowing and fading. So if anything ever happens to your project within the lifetime of it, just call us back and we'll come out and fix it for free.
And you can see how close to even the audio is in here. Stuff that flexes dynamic range-wise on your audio of the person talking, really, I think even up to 8 dB of difference between the quiet parts and the loud parts isn't bad. I think that that's all pretty acceptable. That breathes enough. It doesn't sound squashed, and you'll be able to place it where you want it in the mix. So if we look at that, that's pretty much what it's doing.
So if anything ever happens to your project within the lifetime of it, just call us back and we'll come out and fix it for free.
Booyah. I think we're pretty good. I'm totally ready to rock with that, with lining it up with my video clip, which is this interview setup over here. And the next video, maybe I'm going to go ahead and put a quick color grade on this just so I can have some reference point. I'll make a video on that. That way you can see how I did that. This is Canon R5C. And this is XF AVC 4K footage that's over here that I'm going to edit. Color grade, just get in a general look going on, and then I really polish it fully out at the very end. All right, guys, I hope that that gives you some ideas. I know it's plugins, but man, if you do this for a living, I'm telling you, it's not only that the plugins save you days. How valuable is your time if it saves you days? But it's also that it can do stuff you may not be able to do. All right, like you still have a lot of parameters that you can adjust. It's still something to learn, but it's amazing how close it gets you out of the gate with the default settings. And there's more tools than what I showed. The Izotope suite, I heard about it from some filmmakers, and just can't imagine not working with it for the standard of quality that is expected from my clients at this point. I've raised the bar too much on myself with the quality that they end up getting at the end of it. So I still might master this at the end. I guess I could show that one thing. Here's one last thing I do to the audio. In the final edit, I would probably do this. I don't necessarily do this to the audio clip itself, but it is something I do. It's right here in Premiere. And there is Ozone by Izotope, but I mean, this just works fine. I just drop this on for whatever reason. This is an Adobe mastering audio. For whatever reason, I have some setting, I guess, on that I haven't been able to figure out how to turn off. It just automatically turns this peaking enable and this high shelf on. I turn that crap off. It turns the exciter on. It didn't used to do this. I have to like reset all these things. The only thing I want with this is this loudness maximizer boost, and I'll use it somewhere between 10 to 20. So let's hear what the difference is with and without. Here is without.
One of our production managers or field supervisors to do a quick inspection of the area. When they come out, they'll be prepared from the photos to kind of know how to assess the situation, whether they can do a quick repair right then and there, or if they need to schedule a more strenuous repair. Yeah, I think that's it.
It gives a louder tone without increasing the decibels as much as just manually increasing the decibels. So I do recommend putting a little bit of mastering on at the very, very end. Export all your audio and then put a mastering pass on the whole audio of everybody's narrations, assuming that you've interviewed multiple people and you're putting all this together into a single video. I hope this helps you guys. I will catch you on the next one. If you are interested in following more stuff that's actually about filming or other editing tips, or just talking about lighting or, cameras, lenses, all that kind of stuff. This is a channel that has it. I have plenty of videos on here, and I've got more coming. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope it helps you, and take care. Peace.
I was 14 years old, and I befriended a couple of older guys who were in college, and they had a 396 SS Chevelle. So I was the 14-year-old kid in the back seat looking out between the two bucket seats as we drag raced all over town in that car. And I don't think we ever lost a race.
I mean, back in those days, man, if you had 300 horsepower, you were king of the road. Now we're offering packages of excess of 1,500 wheel horsepower.